Hi everyone, this is Kelsey Jones, Executive Editor at Search Engine Journal, and I'm joined here today with Chris Boggs, founder of Web Traffic Advisors. Chris, thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you, Kelsey, for having me.
I know today we wanted to talk about building an SEO and SEM agency. Do you want to kind of talk a little bit about that? Because I know that's what your panel's on. What are some of the main principles?
Great. Well, I've been fortunate to have experienced a number of different sizes of agencies throughout my career. And one of the things I'll be presenting is about 3 different models for building an agency.
Yeah.
One is sort of the small, single head that's also an expert and, just has as few people as possible working with them. And then the next would be a medium-sized agency and then a large-size agency. I'll be going through some of the way that I feel teams should be structured. There's 2 different models there. You can have single-stream teams, one handling SEO, one handling paid search, social media, or you could create teams that are combined with people across teams, right? So that's
Gotcha.
a major consideration when you're thinking about scaling an agency. One of the other things that has, come to me as a result of some discussions during the Speakers Enclave yesterday is that there also needs to be a consideration of the type of client that you're going to go after then when you're setting up how you're going to scale your agency.
Yeah, that's true. I wouldn't have even thought of that.
Yeah, for example, the medium-sized agency is probably going to be best for a medium-sized client in a way because there's not as many connection points that need to be made. Some of these mega agencies out there, we all know them, we all love them, they're perfect for the huge orgs that are out there in a lot of cases right now. Even just the small, nimble agencies are becoming a player for them too, because some of those orgs are looking into the way that their budget is spent and things like that. So I think all 3 agencies are in play, or all 3 models are in play for the really big business out there. But if you try to kind of align your agency size with your target business size goal, I think that could be a useful way to think about it as well.
Yeah, that's something that, that's a really good point because I have an agency that's just me and then I have a couple of virtual assistants. And so we usually cater towards single-owned businesses, small businesses. But then whenever we have worked with big names, we'll usually only work on one thing for them. So we'll do just a couple blog posts instead of their whole entire strategy. So
Right.
I think when it comes to handling a whole entire strategy for a big company, that's usually the bigger agency that you'll see, right?
Yeah, and I think, what you mentioned there touches on freelancing too, and that's something that a lot of organizations are starting to look at. I would say here in North America, we're behind. Like in Brazil, for example, freelancing is just common, right? And a lot of different businesses use freelancers to satisfy certain elements of, their execution as well as even sometimes their strategy. But for the majority, I think that the small to small model can work. Another thing to consider though is that there's a lot of businesses that are coming out that are B2B software type of business where they can be lean, right? And so these businesses, even though they might think that there's, the old saying, no one ever got fired for hiring IBM, right? So some of them, if they get a big influx of money, they think, oh, well, we better go, hire the huge agency. But I'm starting to see more and more of these kind of lean, businesses also trying to go lean on consultants. I'm partnered with a small design firm in Atlanta who she's just partnered with a number of different experts, right? And that's I've been now in business on myself for a year, and that's what I've found that's been useful to me is having sort of those go-to people, right? You said you have a couple virtual assistants, but do you also ever outsource out any of the expertise?
So I'm not a graphic designer. I'm really bad.
Okay.
So I have a friend that I used to work with that I'll send her work, and then whenever she needs copywriting or she has clients that do, she'll refer me. So it's kind of a partnership in that way. So we'll do that. But speaking of this, it made me think to ask you a question that kind of ties into what I'm going through. So I know American capitalism is the thought that you want to just keep growing. But I know there's some businesses like mine, I don't want to grow, I don't want to be big.
Yeah.
And so what advice would you give to, a company that maybe doesn't want to grow or they want to stay that medium size or the small size?
I'd say carpe diem because I'm exactly like that personally. I've had people approaching me over the last year saying, you should scale, you should do training, you should do this, you should do that. You can only earn a certain amount. Well, it was actually nicely in the Speakers Enclave yesterday here at Pubcon, it was there was a brief discussion around the concept of having a lifestyle business, right? And not wanting to go have a 50-foot yacht in the Bahamas and everything, but happily living with your family of 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever, and you know, moving along and being happy. So to me, I think that there's another value in that, is that you're not going to get spread too thinly, right?
Yes.
And the more that you can focus in on, like for me, it's usually between 7 and 12 clients or something, the more that you're going to deliver value, and then, you know, be able to help them in the long term and help them find other partners that can help, you know, their marketing go forward.
Yeah, I found it's definitely quality over quantity when it comes to clients.
Totally.
So, yeah. Well, I'm sure that we'll hear more from you for the people that go to your session, and I want to thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Kelsey. And I've always loved SEJ. I mean, Lauren Baker, who doesn't love Lauren Baker?
I know.
And your whole
he's
crew
awesome.
now is really great. I'm really happy to see, you know, that you guys have grown into where you are now. And I was a little sad when SEJ was kind of down a little bit a few years ago. So this is awesome.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Well, again, this is Kelsey Jones and Chris Boggs with SEJ. This is Kelsey Jones, Executive Editor of Search Engine Journal, and I'm here today with Guy Kawasaki, Chief Evangelist of Canva. Guy, thanks so much for joining us. I know you did a keynote today at Pubcon about personal branding and social media.
Conferences I attended, the speakers were fantastic. The weather here has been amazing. I mean, this location, the hotel.
The thing I'm really liking about the SEJ Summit is the 3 takeaways structure.
Yes.
I'm leaving with way more.
I also like the single session format for conferences.
I agreed to be a speaker here because I think above all else, the quality of people who attend the meeting, there's something to be said about the fact that you can't just pay to come here. It's by invitation only.
What I've really liked about the speakers is that it's been very well-rounded. We focused on content generation ideas.